Okay, here is my 240 volt pot, specifically from the United Kingdom, but you probably could use any pot from the European Union. They run on 230 to 240 volts, and I think it doesn't really matter. I think they're all compatible. Anyway, this is specifically from the UK with a UK plug. I'll turn this on as I explain this. And so this pot has a LED light, but this is the US version of 240 volts. It's a 6-20. So it's got, in this hole, it's black and red, or black and red, doesn't matter. And the bottom is ground. So, and then this is the UK plug. And I can show that once it's started to boil. It shouldn't be too bad. So this is 1 liter of water. And this pot in particular is 3 kilowatts, so it's 13 amps at 240 volts. And we'll see how long that takes. Okay, so I think we're about at 2 minutes here, and it hasn't shut off by itself. It's got an auto shut off. So I think it's safe to say it's boiling in 2 minutes, and it shuts off in 2 minutes 10 or 2 minutes 15 seconds. So, okay, that's that, and then I can unplug this. Again, this is the NEMA 620, and this one is the UK plug type. So again, I think it's ground on the top, and it's a little different. I think one of these might be neutral and one's hot, but it doesn't really matter for the operation of the pot. So that's it. So this is how I constructed the cord. And I'll start with the answer first. It's just that red box. I took a plug end that it's a NEMA 620 plug end, and it's like if you were to repair a cord, you just buy that. I reused a cord remnant that was from a 120 volt plug. It's fine. Most cords are rated for 300 volts, or I think all of them are. And then I connected it to the other side on a Type G outlet. And the red and the black are just for illustration purposes. There's going to be no markings inside. But that gray line for the cord is technically the white one. It's just white doesn't show up very good on a white slide. So yeah, just make sure you get the grounds right, and the others don't really matter. In the NEMA 620, so the equipment list, so of course you need an outlet to plug into on your house, and that's maybe another video, how to install an outlet. It's 240, but basically it's 2 hots and a ground. Run that back to your panel and connect it to the 2 hot phases and a ground, so you don't need the neutral. And then of course NEMA 620 plug-in, which is that black plug-in that you see up above, 12 gauge extension cord, which I mentioned before, and the Type G outlet from Amazon. You have to go through the Amazon portal, the UK Amazon portal, because they're not going to have the Type G outlet in the US Amazon store. So that's pretty much it. That's how you do it. If you're curious about 240 volts in the U.S. versus Europe, keep listening. So I'm not going to go into it too much, but the basic differences are the frequency, which is the hertz, 60 hertz versus 50 hertz. And in the United States, we have single split phase. And in Europe, for 240, they just have single phase. The ground is at a different potential. So for ours, most of the plugs in a house are 120 volts, so it's neutral and a hot. Same thing for Europe. It's neutral and a hot. It's just 240. So we have different circuits, and usually it's neutral to the red leg, and red is, it's arbitrary, and neutral to the black leg. So there's two different quote-unquote legs in the panel. You run those out to all your outlets. And the way we get 240 is we just connect the two legs hot to hot, and that gets us 240. A little bit about the plugs in the United States. There are 3 different kinds of plugs, or 3 basic configurations of 240 volt plugs. I chose the 6 series because it has 2 hots and a ground. I wanted a ground because the original has a ground. There's the 10 series, like 10-30, and that's for like old dryers. So if you're plugging this to an old dryer, I would consider trying to get a ground in there, because that is 2 hots, red, black, and white. And that's the 10 series. And then there's the 14 series, which is 4 wires. It's red, black, white, and green. So you get all of them in there. And so that's what's typically installed now, because people like to install ground. Neutral can be different than ground. You can get a little bit of a shock if you touch neutral to your finger in the earth, because there's variation throughout the house. But it's not a huge risk. But they don't install it anymore. So it depends on what you're installing in your house to connect to the 240 system. I think NEMA 620 is the closest match to what you would find in another country. So good luck.